The cold air touched her face, and she opened her eyes slowly. The place was not her home. The ceiling above was made of silver metal shining with strange blue lights that moved like water. She tried to sit up, but her hands were tied with thin glowing ropes. They looked soft, but were harder than steel. Her heart started beating fast. She wanted to scream, but no sound came out. Something had stolen her voice. She moved her eyes and saw the walls. They were alive. Yes, alive. The walls were breathing. Slowly, rising and falling like the chest of a sleeping giant. Her skin crawled, and she closed her eyes for a moment, thinking maybe this was a dream. But when she opened them again, the nightmare was still there. A sound filled the air. It was not human. It was low, deep, and inside her head. The voice said, "You are awake." Good. She shook her head, looking around, but no one was there. The voice was everywhere, like the air itself was talking. Then, the floor under her became soft, and she sank slowly, like the earth was swallowing her. She tried to fight, but the ropes held her arms and legs. She went down into darkness. For a long moment, there was nothing. No sound, no light, just silence. She thought maybe she was dead. Suddenly a light exploded. White blinding light, and she found herself standing in a room. She was not tied anymore. Her voice returned. She screamed, her own scream echoing around the endless white room, but no one came. She was alone, or maybe not. In front of her, the light bent and something appeared. Figure, it was tall, with no face, only a smooth surface like glass. Inside that glass, she saw her own reflection. The creature did not move, but she felt its eyes on her, like sharp knives cutting her mind. "Do you fear?" the voice asked again. This time she felt her chest heavy, her breath short. She wanted to say no, but the word refused to leave her lips. The figure came closer. With every step, the ground under her feet turned into black stone, burning hot. She could feel the pain, and yet she could not move away. Memories started breaking inside her head. She saw her childhood. She was 5, hiding under a bed as her parents argued. She saw herself at 12, standing alone in school, everyone laughing. At her, she saw the night she lost her best friend in an accident. The pain returned, raw, sharp, like it was happening again. She fell to her knees, crying. The voice whispered, "Your fear is strong, your pain is deep. Show us more," she shouted. "Stop! Please stop!" But the memories kept coming, faster and darker. Her heart raced so hard, she thought it would break her chest. She screamed until her throat burned. Then suddenly silence. Everything froze. The memories vanished. The floor became white again. She was still kneeling, shaking but alive. She looked up, and the faceless figure was gone. Only the voice remained. "Interesting. You survived the first trial. Most break within minutes. But you are still whole, not strong. Yet, but not weak either." She wiped her tears and stood up slowly. Anger started to grow inside her. They had taken her life, her memories, and played with her mind like it was a game. She clenched her fists. "Why are you doing this to me? Who are you?" she shouted into the empty air. The voice answered with calm coldness. "We are many. We are one. We test. We learn. You are human, but you may be more. We will see." The walls of the white room began to shift, melting like wax. New shapes formed, dark forests, endless shadows. She was no longer in a room. She was standing in a forest under a black sky, stars burning red above. The sound of movement came from the trees. Something was there watching her. Her heart beat louder again. She whispered to herself, "It's not real. It's not real." But then she heard footsteps. Heavy, slow footsteps coming closer. She turned, and from the trees came creatures, tall and twisted, their mouths full of teeth, too long to belong to anything natural. They did not run. They walked slowly, as if enjoying her fear. The voice whispered again, "This is your second trial. Do not run. Face it, or die." Her legs shook, but she stood still. The monsters came closer, growling, their eyes glowing red. She had nothing to fight with, no weapon, only her hands. She thought of running, but her body refused. Something inside her whispered, "Stand. Do not give them fear. They want your fear." So she breathed deep and stared back at the monsters. One step closer. Another. Their smell was like blood and ash. She wanted to faint, but she stood strong. And then something strange happened. The monsters stopped. They looked at her, confused. Their growls turned into low whimpers, like wolves afraid of fire. They began stepping back, still watching her but no longer attacking. The voice spoke again, this time softer, almost pleased. "Ah, we see now. You are not only prey, you can become something greater, something they will fear." Her body was shaking, but inside her chest a small fire started to burn. She did not understand what was happening, but for the first time since waking, she felt a little stronger. She felt powerful. The forest around her faded into white again. She was alone. The voice said one last thing before silence. "This is only the beginning." She stood there, breathing hard, her mind heavy with fear, but also with something new hope. And deep inside, a thought whispered in her heart. "Maybe they want to make me their slave. But one day I will make them bow." She did not know how much. Time had passed. Maybe minutes, maybe hours. In that strange place, time had no meaning. The white space around her was endless, and the silence was so deep that even her own breath sounded like thunder. She wanted to scream again, but she stopped herself. If the voice was listening, she did not want to give them more joy from her. Her mind was heavy, full of memories and strange images. The monsters, the faceless figure, the burning ground, everything felt too real. She rubbed her arms, still feeling the heat of fire that was not there anymore. She whispered, "This is not real. This is not real." But her own words sounded weak then. Without warning, the ground under her shifted again. A ripple passed like water, and she lost her balance, falling to her knees. The air changed, colder, sharper, biting against her skin. The white walls cracked, and through the cracks, a different world appeared. Now she stood inside a huge hall. It looked like a temple, dark and silent. The walls were covered in black stone, shining like wet glass. Strange symbols glowed faintly, twisting and moving as if alive. Tall pillars reached into a roof so high she could not see it. The silence here was not empty, it was heavy, full of unseen eyes watching her. Her chest tightened. She could feel it. She was not alone. From the shadows, soft whispers began to rise. Not one, not two, but hundreds of voices speaking at once. She could not understand the language, but the sound made her skin crawl. It was like listening to insects crawling inside her head. She pressed her hands against her ears, but the whispers only grew louder, echoing inside her skull. She shouted, "Stop it!" And to her surprise, the whispers stopped. The silence was worse. From the far end of the hall, something started moving. A shape, tall and thin, walking slowly toward her. It wore a long black robe, and its face was hidden behind a mask made of bone. The mask had no mouth, no eyes, only deep cracks, glowing with pale blue light. Her breath caught in her throat. The figure stopped only a few steps away, and the voice returned, but this time it did not come from everywhere. It came from the figure. "You are in our temple, a place of fear built from the minds of many. Do you understand now?" She shook her head. "No, I don't understand. Why me? Why am I here?" The figure tilted its head almost like it was curious. "You are human. Humans are interesting. Your fear feeds us. Your pain teaches us. Most break, most fall. But you resist. We're different." She felt anger again, stronger than before. "I am not your toy. I will not break for you." The figure leaned closer. Though its mask had no eyes, she felt its gaze cut into her. "We shall see." The ground between them cracked open, and black smoke rose, thick and heavy. From the smoke, shapes began to crawl, hands, arms, twisted bodies. Dozens of creatures pulled themselves out, their faces melting like wax, their mouths open and silent. Screams They surrounded her in a circle, moving closer and closer. Her heart raced. She stepped back, but there was nowhere to go. The circle closed tighter. Their hands reached out, clawing for her skin. She shouted, "Stay away," and pushed her hands forward. What happened next shocked even her. A blast of invisible force exploded from her body, throwing the creatures back like broken dolls. He screamed, vanishing into smoke. The hall shook, and for the first time, the figure in the mask stepped back. She looked at her own hands, shaking. What? What did I just do? The figure spoke, slower now. So it begins. Fear does not only break you, fear can also shape you. You are learning. Her mind spun. Did she just use power? Did they give this to her? Or was it always inside her? She felt her chest burning, not with fear, but with strange energy. Like fire and lightning mixed together. The masked figure raised its hand, and the hall changed again. The walls melted, the pillars crumbled, and the roof opened into a sky filled with red storms. She stood now on black ground that stretched forever. The figure's voice echoed across the storm. Second trial complete. You resist. You survive. But you are not ready. We will push you deeper until you break or rise. The storm roared, lightning cutting across the sky. Her hair whipped around her face, and she screamed against the wind, "I will not break." The figure did not answer. Instead, the storm swallowed her. Darkness pulled her down again, spinning her in endless circles. Body felt heavy, her mind tearing apart. And then silence. She opened her eyes and gasped. She was lying on the floor of a small room. This one looked different, almost human. A bed, a table, a chair. The walls were metal, but soft light glowed from lamps on the ceiling. For a moment, she thought maybe she was back on Earth. Maybe this was her home. But no, the air was wrong. Too clean, too cold. On the table sat a glass of water. Real water. Shining under the light. She had not noticed until now how thirsty she was. Her throat burned. She reached for the glass with trembling hands, lifted it to her lips, and drank. The water was sweet, colder than ice. It made her feel alive again. But when she put the glass down, she froze. On the wall across from her, words had appeared, not written with ink or paint, burned into the metal itself. It said, "We are watching. The next trial begins when you close your eyes." Her stomach dropped. She looked at the bed. She was exhausted, her body shaking from everything she had faced. She wanted to rest. But she knew sleep would not bring peace. It would bring the next nightmare. She sat on the bed, holding her knees to her chest, whispered to herself, "I will not give them what they want. I will not." But deep inside, she knew the truth. The next trial was coming, and she could not escape it. She sat on the cold bed, arms wrapped tight around herself. The room was quiet, too quiet. The words burned into the wall kept echoing in her mind. The next trial begins. When you close your eyes, she fought sleep as long as she could. Her eyes burned, her body begged for rest, but she kept whispering to herself, "Don't sleep, don't sleep." Hours seemed to pass, or maybe only minutes. It was impossible to tell. Her head finally dropped forward, too heavy to lift anymore. Darkness swallowed her. When she opened her eyes again, she was not in the room. She stood in the middle of a city, not Earth's city. This one was alien, huge towers made of black stone reaching into the sky, glowing veins of blue light crawling up their sides. The ground beneath her feet was smooth metal, reflecting the strange red sky above. The streets were empty, silent. Her chest tightened again. Silence was never safe here. Then she heard it, low hum. At first far away, then closer, louder. She turned, and her breath froze. Dozens of creatures marched toward her, not the twisted monsters from before. These were different. They looked more human, but their skin was gray, their eyes black and empty, and they moved in perfect unison, step by step, as if they were one body. Each of them carried a weapon-long blades that glowed faintly. She whispered, "No," and stepped back. But they did not stop. The voice returned inside her head. "This is your third trial. You face the army of shadows. Fight or fall." Her heart raced. She had no weapon, no shield, only her hands. She remembered the moment in the temple when her scream of fear had pushed the monsters away. Could she do it again? She lifted her hands, trying to feel that strange fire inside her chest. The shadows came closer. 10 steps away. 5 steps. The ground shook with their march. She screamed and pushed her hands forward. A wave of invisible force burst from her, throwing the first row of soldiers back. But the others did not stop. They ran at her fast, their blades raised. She dodged left, barely missing a strike. Another blade cut across her arm, leaving a burning line of pain. She cried out, but anger pushed her forward. She raised her hand again, and this time fire erupted. Rail fire, orange and wild, bursting from her palm. The soldiers caught fire, their gray skin melting as they screamed. The smell was sharp, bitter, like burning metal. She stepped back. Shocked at what she had done, her hands shook, but the fire inside her was growing stronger. More soldiers charged. She closed her eyes, focused on that heat, and when she opened them, the fire was no longer small. It was a storm. Flames roared from her body, circling her, forming a burning wall. The soldiers stopped, unable to enter. Some tried, but the flames swallowed them instantly, leaving nothing but ash. She was breathing hard, her body weak, but her eyes burned with something new power. The voice whispered, "Yes, now, we see it clearly. Fear, not only your fear, but theirs. You are the weapon we searched for," she shouted back, her voice trembling but strong. "I am not your weapon. I will never be yours." The voice laughed. Not one voice, but many, hundreds, echoing in her head. "We shall see." The city around her began to shake. Towers cracked, falling into pieces, crashing down. She ran, but the ground split beneath her. Fire poured out of the cracks, chasing her steps. The sky itself broke open, red lightning. Cutting the air, she stumbled, fell to her knees, and the soldiers rose again from the ground, surrounding her once more. This time their faces looked different. They were not strangers anymore. She saw her mother's face, her father's, her lost friend, even children from her past. Their black eyes stared at her, and their voices cried out together, "You cannot fight us. You cannot burn us. We are your fear." Tears filled her eyes. She covered her face, shaking. "No, this isn't real. You're not real." But the figures stepped closer, their blades glowing. She felt trapped again, weaker, smaller. But then, inside the storm of her fear, something new sparked. A voice, not theirs, her own. "Fear does not own me. I own it." She lowered her hands, and her eyes glowed with the same fire as before. She stood tall. "You are not my fear anymore. You are mine." The army froze. For the first time, they looked uncertain. Their blades lowered. The fire inside her chest exploded again, brighter than before, and the army turned to dust, fading. Into the wind, the city melted. The ground, the towers, the sky, everything disappeared. She was back in the white void, alone again. The voice spoke, quieter this time, almost careful. "Interesting. You are not only surviving, you are becoming, perhaps, too fast." She breathed hard, her fists still clenched, the fire still burning in her veins. She whispered to herself, "You wanted to test me, but I am. Not just surviving, I am becoming stronger than you." For a long moment, the voice did not answer. It's only silence. Then it whispered one last time, "We will push harder, until even you break." The silence returned, but she knew. This was not over, not even close. She stood in the white void again, her chest rising and falling as she fought for breath. The silence was heavy, pressing against her skin. Her body felt weak, but her mind burned with the fire she had discovered. Inside, she knew now she had power, something the aliens had not expected. But the silence was dangerous. It never lasted long. Her eyes darted around, waiting. The white space began to flicker, breaking apart like glass. This time the change was slower, almost cruel, dragging her deeper into unease. The ground trembled, and suddenly she was no longer. Standing in the void, she was in a room. Not a strange alien room, but one she knew. Her childhood bedroom. Posters on the wall, the little wooden desk, the old cracked mirror writ, was all there. She froze, her throat tight. How could this be? She had not been here since she was a child. Her heart ached. She walked slowly to the desk and touched it. The wood felt real, warm under her hand. She looked at the bed and saw something lying there, a small figure curled up under the blanket. Her steps grew heavy as she walked closer. She pulled the blanket back, and her heart stopped. It was her. A younger version of herself, a little girl with messy hair, clutching a toy bear. The girl's eyes opened slowly, wide with fear. Who are you? The child whispered. Her lips trembled. I am you. The girl shook her head, terrified. No, you're not me. You're the monster they sent. With pain? No, I'm not a monster. I'm you, what you become. But the girl's eyes darkened. Black shadows spread across them, covering the whites until they were nothing but pits of darkness. Her small voice deepened, echoing with many tones. You are not me. You're the fear they created. The little girl sat up, her body twisting, growing taller, older, till she became a perfect mirror image of her current self. Same face, same eyes, but empty. Cold Dot, the copy, smiled. I am the true you, the one they want, the one who will bow. Her stomach turned. She stepped back, shaking her head. No, you're not real. You're just another trick. The copy moved closer, eyes glowing faintly. Trick? No, I am stronger. You think you own fear? You think you can control it? The fear owns you? Look inside yourself. You know I am right. The room shook, the walls cracking. The posters burned. Away, the mirror shattered, and shadows crawled across the floor. The toy bear fell apart in her hands, turning into black ash. She screamed, No, you don't control me, and pushed her hands forward. Fire burst from her palms, a storm of heat and light. Flames swallowed the copy, burning everything around her. For a moment, silence returned. The fire faded, the shadows vanished. She dropped to her knees, exhausted, her whole body trembling. But then she heard laughter. Her head snapped up. Out of the smoke, the copy stepped again and touched, unharmed. Its smile was wider now, cruel. You cannot burn me. I am you. Stomach twisted. Sweat dripped down her face. She had fought monsters, armies, storms, but now she faced herself. And no matter what she did, this enemy would not fall. The voice of the aliens returned, colder than ever. This is your next trial. Face yourself. Break yourself. Only then will you rise. Her fists clenched. She wanted to run, but there was nowhere to go. The copy tilted its head and whispered, You will lose, because deep down, you fear yourself more than anything else. The words cut deep, too deep. She froze, her fire flickering, her chest heavy. Was it true? Was she her own greatest enemy? Her vision blurred. She felt weak again, small, like the little girl she had seen on the bed. The copy grew taller, its shadow covering her. It raised a hand, and black fire spilled from its palm, racing toward her. She screamed, covering her face. The fire hit, but it did not burn. Instead, it wrapped around her like chains, heavy and cold. She fell to the ground, bound by her own darkness. The copy leaned closer, whispering into her ear, You cannot escape me, because I am you. Her heart raced. She closed her eyes, tears burning. But deep inside, the small fire she had felt before was still there, hidden under the fear. It whispered softly like a quiet heartbeat, Stand. Do not give in. Her breath steadied. Her tears dried. She opened her eyes again, glowing bright, brighter than ever before. She clenched her fists. The chains began to crack. The copy's smile faded. With a scream that shook the air, she broke free. Light burst from her body, blinding and pure, and the copy staggered back, screaming in pain. Hundreds of broken cries before it shattered like glass, exploding into dust. She stood alone again, her chest heaving, her body shaking. The room melted away, and the white void returned. The voice whispered, not amused this time, but careful. You defeated yourself. Few can do this. Perhaps we have underestimated you. She raised her head, her voice steady but hard. I told you, I will not break. For the first time the voice was silent, and then, cold as ice, it answered, Then we must make you more than human. The ground under her opened again, pulling her into darkness. She screamed as she fell, the void swallowing her whole. She was falling. The void dragged her down, deeper and deeper, until she felt her body would break apart. Her scream vanished in the black air. There was no ground, no sky, only endless descent. Then suddenly she stopped. Her feet touched solid ground. She opened her eyes and gasped. This place was not white, not a city, not a temple. It was something else, a prison. Rows of cages stretched in every direction, made of glowing bars that pulsed like living veins. Inside each cage lay a human. Sat curled up, trembling. Others lay motionless, their faces pale, eyes empty. Some were screaming endlessly, their voices raw. Her chest tightened. They were like her, humans, victims of the same trials. She whispered, "Oh God." "How many?" The voice answered, calm and cold. "Many. Some lasted minutes, some lasted years. All of them failed." Her stomach turned. She walked closer to the nearest cage. A woman sat inside, hugging her knees. Her eyes were wide and empty, staring at nothing. The woman's lips moved slowly, repeating the same words over and over. They never stop. They never stop. They never stop. She felt her skin crawl. She whispered to the woman, "Can you hear me? I'm human, like you." The woman's head turned suddenly. Her mouth stretched into a twisted smile and her voice shifted, sounding nothing like human. "You will join us soon." The woman's face melted into shadow and the cage bars pulsed brighter. She staggered back, heart racing. The voice spoke again. "This is your lesson. This is the fate of those who break. They feed us. They become part of the fear." Her fists clenched. "You monsters. You're using them like fuel." The voice replied with no shame. "Fear is energy. Pain is power. Humans give much of both. You are food. You are tools. And maybe you will be more." Her chest burned with anger. She walked down the prison rows, looking into each cage. Some humans were crying. Some were silent, staring at her as if they knew her. A few reached out weak hands through the glowing bars, whispering, "Help! Help!" Her throat tightened. She wanted to tear the cages open, but she could feel that these bars were unbreakable, alive with energy. If she touched them, they would burn her into ash suddenly. Footsteps echoed behind her. She turned fast, her fire ready. But what she saw made her freeze. Another human stood there. A man. His clothes were torn, his face pale, but his eyes were still sharp, still alive. He looked at her with surprise. You're real?" he asked. His voice was weak but human. Her heart pounded. "Yes, I think so. Who are you?" The man stepped closer, his movements slow as if every step hurt. "My name is Daniel. I've been here. I don't know how long. Years, maybe," I thought. I was the last one left. She stared at him, almost afraid to believe. "Another survivor? You survived their trials?" Daniel's eyes darkened. "Not all of them. But instead of killing me, they kept me alive. They said I was incomplete." She shivered. "Incomplete?" He nodded. "They're shaping us, testing us, looking for something. They don't just want fear. They want to build gods out of it." Her chest grew cold. "Gods of fear." Daniel's voice trembled. "Most of us can't handle it. Our minds break. Turn into those things you saw in the cages. But you still look human. That means you're different. That means you're what they've been waiting for." Her fists shook. She wanted to deny it, but deep inside she knew he was right. The aliens were pushing her farther than the others, were testing her for something greater. Before she could speak, the ground shook. The cages rattled, screams echoing in every direction. The glowing bars pulsed brighter. The voice boomed across the prison. "Enough. No more weakness. The next trial begins." The cages split open. She froze in horror as the humans inside began crawling out. But they were no longer human. Their bodies twisted, their faces stretched, their eyes black with emptiness. They moved on hands and feet like broken animals, their mouths open with endless screams. Daniel shouted, "Run! They're not human anymore." The creatures rushed forward. She raised her hands, fire exploding outward, burning the first wave into ash. But more came. Dozens, hundreds, crawling over the ground like an ocean of nightmares. Her fire roared, her body burning with energy. But the creatures kept coming. She screamed as she pushed harder, the flames rising higher. The prison glowed like the sun, the air shaking with power. Daniel stood behind her, swinging a broken pipe he had picked up, fighting off the ones that slipped through. His voice was desperate. "There's too many. We can't hold them." Her chest burned like it would explode. She felt the fire inside her growing out of control. No longer a weapon, but a storm ready to destroy everything. Her vision blurred. The creatures closed in, and then the voice whispered softly, almost pleased. "Yes, show us. Show us the true god of fear." Her body burst with light and fire, brighter than she had ever felt. The prison shook, the cages shattered, the ground split open. The creatures screamed as they were burned to dust, one by one. Until silence returned, smoke filled the air. Her legs trembled. She collapsed to her knees, gasping for breath. The fire faded slowly, leaving only darkness around her. Daniel dropped beside her, his eyes wide with fear and awe. "What? Are you?" Her lips trembled. She wanted to say human. She wanted to say nothing had changed. Yet deep inside, she felt the truth. Something inside her was no longer human. She looked at her hands, still glowing faintly with fire, and whispered, "I don't know anymore." The voice returned, colder than ever. "You are becoming, and soon you will not be able to return." Heart sank, and for the first time, she wondered if the aliens were not only testing her, maybe they were remaking her. Her body trembled as she tried to stand. Daniel grabbed her arm, pulling her up. Smoke still curled from the broken cages, and the prison air was heavy with the smell of ash. The screams had stopped, but the silence was worse. Daniel's eyes stayed on her hands. They still glowed faintly, as if fire lived under her skin. He whispered, almost afraid to speak, "I've never seen power like that. They're shaping you into something else." She shook her head, her voice rough. "No, I'm still human." Daniel gave a bitter laugh. "Are you? Look at them." He pointed to the piles of ash, the broken bodies that had once been people. They were human too, and now they're gone. Her chest tightened. She wanted to scream at him, to deny it, but deep down, she felt the truth. Every trial changed her. Every fight pulled her farther away from what she used to be. The prison floor shifted. The cages sank into the ground, vanishing into blackness. Soon, only an empty plain stretched around them. Cold winds swept across, carrying whispers. The voice returned. "You have seen the broken ones. Now you will see the truth." The ground split open, and a platform rose from below. On it stood a massive structure, like a throne made of bone and shadow. Around it floated strange machines, pulsing with light. Inside those machines were human figures, their bodies suspended in liquid. Tubes connected their heads, their chests, their veins. Their eyes were closed, their faces twisted in silent screams. Daniel's face went pale. "Oh God, they're still alive." The voice continued. "Fear is not enough. We take minds, we take souls, we shape them into weapons. This is our design." Her heart pounded as she stepped closer. The humans inside the machines looked familiar, not their faces, but their expressions. The same terror she had felt in her trials, the same pain she carried inside. She whispered, "You're turning them into batteries, into tools, into gods." The voice corrected. "Most fail, but some evolve, some rise. You will rise higher than any before." Her stomach twisted. "You're not making gods. You're killing people." The air vibrated with cold laughter. "Humans die, gods are born." She clenched her fists, her fire burning hotter, but Daniel grabbed her shoulder. His voice shook. "Don't. If you fight them now, they'll destroy us both." Her eyes met his. "So what do we do? Just watch." Before he could answer, one of the machines opened. Liquid spilled onto the platform. A body stepped out, trembling. Covered in wires, it was a man. Skin was pale, his eyes black like the broken ones, but his chest rose and fell. He was still alive. Daniel gasped. That's Thomas. I knew him. He was with me in the early trials." The man's head turned slowly toward them. His lips parted, and a broken voice came out. "Help me." Her chest ached. She took a step forward. But then the man's body convulsed. His bones twisted, his muscles tearing, and he screamed. His voice deepened, becoming something inhuman. His arms stretched, his fingers turning into long claws. His mouth widened into a jagged grin. Daniel shouted, "No." They turned him into one of them. The creature roared, its black eyes burning with madness. It leapt toward them. She raised her hand, fire bursting forward. The flames struck the creature, but it did not fall. And it charged through the fire, swinging its claws. She dodged, the heat of her own flames burning her skin. Daniel swung his broken pipe, hitting the creature's head, but it barely noticed. She screamed, pushing harder. Fire grew hotter and brighter until it melted the floor beneath the creature's feet. The ground cracked open, and the monster fell into the blackness below, its roar fading into the void. Silence returned. Daniel was breathing hard, his hand shaking. He dropped the pipe. "That's what they want us to become. Weapons. Monsters." Voice answered, calm as always. "He failed. You did not. This is the difference. You rise while others fall." She shouted at the air, her voice raw. "I will never be your weapon. Do you hear me? Never." The voice was quiet for a moment. Then it whispered almost like a threat. "We do not need your choice. The change has already begun." Her body stiffened. Fire under her skin pulsed. Harder, spreading into her arms, her chest, her head. She gasped, clutching herself. The heat was too much. Felt alive, like something inside her was breaking free. Daniel grabbed her, holding her steady. "Stay with me. Don't let them win." Screamed, her vision blurring. For a moment, she saw herself again, the copy she had fought earlier, smiling in the darkness. Then the world shattered. She opened her eyes and found herself in another place. A throne room. Dark pillars surrounded her, carved with alien symbols. At the far end stood a massive throne made of bone, black stone, and pulsing light, and sitting on it was her copy. It's a dark version of herself, smiling with glowing eyes. The copy leaned forward, her voice echoing through the chamber. "Welcome. The trials are over. Now begins the truth. You are not fighting us anymore. You are fighting me." Her stomach dropped. The real trial had only just begun. The throne room was silent, except for the sound of her own breathing. She stood, frozen, staring at the figure sitting on the throne. It was her, same face, same body. But this version glowed with power, dark fire running through her veins. Her eyes burned like twin suns, cold and merciless. The copy smiled. "I warned you, you cannot escape me, because I am you." Her stomach twisted. She whispered, "You're not me. You're what they made, a shadow." The copy stood slowly, the throne shaking behind her. "No, I am the truth. I am what you become when you stop lying to yourself. You think you can resist them? You think you can win? Look at me. I am already what they want. Soon, you will join me." Daniel stepped forward, holding his broken pipe like it was a sword. His voice trembled, but he shouted anyway. "Stay away from her. The copy turned her head and laughed softly. Ah, the loyal friend. Poor Daniel. Do you really believe? You matter? You failed long ago. She knows it. I know it. Daniel's face darkened, but he tightened his grip. Maybe I failed, but I'm still human, and I'll fight for her until the end. The copy's smile widened. Then you will die first. Before they could move, the ground cracked. Shadows poured out like rivers, forming creatures with glowing eyes and sharp claws. They circled Daniel, hissing, their movements fast and hungry. She screamed, "Daniel, run!" But he stood his ground, swinging the pipe as the creatures leaped at him. He knocked one back, then another, but there were too many. His arms bled, his body shook, but he did not stop. The copy watched calmly, her arms crossed. See, his fear makes him brave. But bravery is useless here. Fear always wins. Her fire burned hotter. She could feel it boiling inside, begging to be released. She raised her hand and flames roared across the throne room, sweeping the creatures away from Daniel. Their bodies burned into dust, screams, echoing into silence. Daniel collapsed to his knees, breathing hard. Blood dripped down his arm, but he forced himself up again. He looked at her and whispered, Don't give in." She nodded, then turned back to face her copy. Her fire burned brighter, her eyes glowing. "This ends now."
Ow!
The copy tilted her head, her smile never fading. "Yes, it does." The two of them charged at each other. When their hands clashed, the entire throne room shook. Light and shadow exploded, throwing Daniel back against the wall. Fire met fire, but hers was bright and alive while the copy's was black and cold. She screamed, pushing forward, but the copy pushed harder, their powers locking in a storm of fire and lightning. The ground cracked under their feet, the throne shattered behind them. The copy's voice echoed above the roar. "You think you can win? You fight me with fear, but fear is mine. Every doubt, every weakness, every wound inside you, it belongs to me." Her teeth clenched. Copy's words cut deep, and she felt her strength falter. The black fire pushed closer, wrapping around her arms, burning her skin. She screamed, falling to her knees. The copy towered above her. "Bow to me. Accept me. Only then will we survive." Her head hung low. The fire inside her dimmed. For a moment, she almost believed it. Maybe the copy was right. Maybe she was. Nothing without her fear. Then she heard Daniel's voice. "Don't listen. You are not her. You are more than fear." As she looked up, Daniel stood bloody and broken, but his eyes burned with something she hadn't seen in a long time: hope. Her chest tightened. She remembered the woman in the cages who whispered help. She remembered the soldiers she burned, the monsters that feared her. And she remembered herself, the little girl who had once cried in her room. Powerless. But she was not powerless anymore. She stood slowly, her body shaking, but her eyes bright. She whispered, "You're wrong. No. Fear doesn't. Own me. I own it." Her fire burst alive, brighter than ever, golden instead of red. The light burned the shadows away, tearing through the black fire like paper. The copy staggered back, her smile fading for the first time. "No," the copy hissed. "This is impossible." She stepped forward, her voice steady. "You are only my shadow, and shadows fade when the light rises." Her fire roared, wrapping around her body, wings of flame spreading wide. The throne room shook, pillars collapsing. She struck forward, her fist burning like the sun, and it slammed into her copy's chest. The copy screamed, her body cracking, light pouring through the fractures. She reached out one last time, her face twisted in rage. "You cannot kill me. I am you," she whispered. "Then die with me." The copy exploded into light and shadow, the throne room shattering into pieces. She fell to the ground, gasping for breath, her body weak, her vision fading. Daniel crawled to her side, holding her shoulders. "You did it," he whispered. "You beat her." Her lips trembled. She wanted to believe him, but deep inside she felt something still burning. The copy was gone, but not destroyed. A part of it still lived in her chest. The voice returned, low and dark. Yes, you have one. You are no longer human. You are ready. Her eyes widened in horror, because for the first time she realized maybe the aliens had never wanted her to lose. Maybe they had wanted her to win all along. The world around her was broken. The throne room was gone, shattered into pieces floating in endless black. She stood on a cracked platform, her body weak, her fire flickering. Daniel held her up, his face pale, his arm bleeding, and then the voice returned, louder than ever, all around them. Inside their heads, you have passed every trial. You burned the monsters. You crushed your shadow. You rose where all others fell. Now you are ready. She looked up. From the dark void, shapes appeared, towering figures tall as mountains. Their bodies were made of shadow and light, their eyes glowing like stars. These were no illusions. These were the true aliens. Daniel's breath caught. My God.
Air.
Real. The figures spoke as one, their voices shaking the air. Fear is the first chain of all life. Those who master it are no longer prey. They are gods. You will be our god of fear. You will lead, you will conquer. Her chest tightened. You tortured me. You broke me. And now you want me to rule for you. Not rule. Rise. Humanity is weak. But through you, they will kneel. You are proof of what they can become. You are the weapon that will burn the stars. Daniel shook his head, shouting into the void. She's not your weapon. She's not. Your slave. The shadows turn toward him, their eyes burning, is weak. He clings to hope. Hope is a lie. Fear is truth. You cannot follow where you must go. End him, and you will be free. Her stomach twisted. She looked at Daniel, broken and bleeding, yet still standing. His eyes met hers. He whispered, "Don't listen. Don't become what they want." Her hands shook. Fire rose from her skin, golden and red. The aliens' voices filled her mind, pressing harder. Choose. Power or weakness. God or human. Fear or nothing. Her fire burned brighter, wrapping around her body like armor. She could feel it calling to her, promising strength, promising control. For a moment, she almost gave in. But then she remembered. The cages. The broken people. Thomas screaming as his body twisted into a monster. The copy on the throne laughing. She remembered every tear, every scream, every whisper for help. And she realized the truth. The aliens didn't want a god of fear. They wanted a chain, a tool, a monster they could control. Her voice broke the silence. I will never be your God. The void trembled. Then you will die. The giants raised their hands. Darkness poured down, heavier than gravity, crushing the platform, breaking the air itself. But she didn't kneel. Her fire exploded, brighter than ever before. Wings of light spread from her back, so bright that even the shadows recoiled. Air burned, the void shook, and for the first time the aliens staggered. She screamed, her voice raw, "Fear does not rule me. Fear obeys me." Her fire spread across the black sky, burning the shadows, tearing holes in the void. The towering figures roared, their forms breaking apart, their star eyes dimming. Daniel fell to his knees, shielding his eyes from the light. You're tearing them apart," the aliens screamed one last time, their voices filled with rage. "This is not the end. You are ours. You cannot escape what you are." But their bodies cracked, shattering into dust, fading into nothing. The void itself began to crumble, the blackness breaking into shards of light. The fire consumed everything, and then silence. She opened her eyes. She was lying on the ground. The sky above her blew, for the first time in what felt like forever. She was back on Earth. Grass touched her hands. Birds flew overhead. Daniel lay beside her, breathing alive. He turned his head, smiling weakly. We made it." She sat up slowly. The fire inside her was still there, but softer now, quiet, waiting. She could feel the shadow of her copy deep in her chest, a reminder that part of the alien's gift would never leave her. Daniel whispered, "It's over." But she wasn't sure. She looked at the horizon. Somewhere out there, beyond the stars, those beings still existed. Maybe not all of them had fallen. Maybe they would return. And when they did, they would come for her. Her fists clenched. For the first time, she wasn't afraid. She stood, her eyes burning faintly. No, it's not over. This is only the beginning. Daniel struggled to his feet, leaning on her shoulder. He gave a tired laugh. "Then I guess we fight together." Hey, nodded, her gaze on the endless sky. She had risen as their god of fear, but she was no one's god. She was free, and if the aliens returned, if they came for Earth again, she would be ready. This time, they would fear her.